Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new, please check out the links located in the description box as well as in the comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links that link to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as videos that share information about the technology utilized on targets, the tactics utilized on targets, and about the targeted individual program in general. Not going to be a long video, y'all. This is actually just part 2 to the last video I created. Just more gang stalking activity documentation. I'm not going to consistently do this, y'all. You know I've been targeted for a while now. And since my targeting going viral in 2022 when I tried to relocate and came back, I've incurred a lot of gang stalking activity. I've documented it, I've talked about it, I've talked about tactics used, etc. I'm not going to constantly keep making these videos about gang stalking or what I suspect to be gang stalking. But something happened that was kind of similar to what happened in the last video, as far as reactions and sensitization and PTSD goes. And so I wanted to talk about that in this video. It's not going to be a long one, y'all. Not going to be as long as that last video. Also, I realized from listening back and watching the last video, the things I tried to show you in the last video, in particularly the Facebook page that tagged me in that post, the fake assumption page, I realized it didn't show. What I'm realizing is, and I keep forgetting, whenever I create multiple clips and I have to use my video merger app, it merges the video, so I'm grateful and glad for that. But it blacks out the screen, so you can't see my screen. Like how you can see my screen right now. If I were to end this video right now and create another clip and then use my video merger app to link both videos, both clips, you wouldn't be able to see my screen like how you are now. And so that's what happened, why you guys weren't able to see that Facebook post. I'm so mad because I literally was searching through Facebook trying to find a post and I had already blocked them. I not blocked them, excuse me, I had already untagged myself from the post. I didn't block them, I untagged myself from the post. And so the only reason I was even able to find the page was because, as you heard in my last video, I said the name of the page out loud. And so that's why I was able to find them again. I went to Facebook and I typed in the search the name of the page and I was able to find the page, but I could not find that post that they tagged me in that I was trying to display to you all in the last video. And I don't have those clips anymore either. I deleted them. As soon as I make clips and I make videos and I upload them to my YouTube, typically I delete them off of my phone because of storage issues. But I took a screenshot just to show you all, because since you couldn't see what I was showing you in the last video, again, you're not going to be able to see the video they tagged me in, but I want to show you this is a real page. It's obviously a troll page, but it's a real page that I was displaying or talking about in that last video. So let me go ahead and show you all the screenshot. As you can see, fake assumption 52. Sorry, my phone needs a charge. 335 okay. And they have the page as a newspaper. You know, this is the type of troll and stupidness that I deal with on a daily basis. Anyways, y'all, let me finish with what I'm talking about. Let me get to the point of what this video is about. So in the last video, you know, I documented some gang stalking activity that happened at the gas station with this guy that I knew from my past. And then I told you guys when I rode over to get lunch from KFC, what happened when I went in there with the young lady that was the cashier, and how as soon as I got up to the counter and she looked at me with this awkward expression, likely because she knew who I was, everyone does, they started revving by and they made me uncomfortable, and then I started to act awkward and uncomfortable. Something similar happened yesterday and day before that, because I created, as you can see, this video 2 days ago. So in the 2 days that happened since I created the video, more instances like that one happened or occurred. So I just want to document, talk about it. You know, the PTSD, the sensitization, the gaslighting, you know how it is. Like whatever it is they're trying to sensitize you to for whatever reason. My situation, again, it's vigilante retribution and punishing me for what they deem as me being somebody that bears false witness. they're purposely pushing and sensitizing me to these false narratives. They're purposely pushing these false narratives at me and sensitizing me to certain things, right, that pertain to that false narrative. One of those things happen to be females. I told you guys this. It's not even just a young woman. It's any woman. Like, it can be an elderly woman. It can be, like, any woman that they see me interacting with, they're purposely trying to make me feel uncomfortable. It can be somebody that's, like, anyway, I'm going to go into the details. Like, as anybody that's female, they're purposely doing that, right? So anyways, so yesterday, let me not talk about yesterday. Let me talk about day before yesterday first. Day before, look, they're flying the insect drone in my face now with their nonsense. Anyways, day before yesterday was a decent day. You know, it wasn't too bad. I went to the gym. This was Wednesday I'm talking about now. You know, went to the gym. I had a decent time at the gym. You know, I actually struggled a little bit. I talked about this, I think. Which video did I talk about oh, I deleted that video. That was the video that I talked about in the last video you guys just listened to, where I told you guys there was a video that I created. I talked about what happened in the gym and how, because I took that week off, my workout was extremely difficult, and it was to the point where I actually had to stop and go home because my legs were so inflamed, my muscles, and it wasn't coming down from that fiery feeling. Like, I could not catch myself. Like, you know, sometimes when you work out and maybe you push too hard and your muscle is burning, and then it eventually the pain will dissipate and you can continue to work out. Like, it wasn't going away. Like, it was just straight fire. I was like, damn, am I gonna have to go to the hospital? Like, it was so bad. And so I ended up going home. But anyway, going off on a tangent. So it was a decent time, though, at the gym. It wasn't too bad. After that, I decided to go to the hair store. And it wasn't packed. You know, it was like evening time. And the lady that actually owns that hair store happened to be working the counter that night. I believe that's who that was. I'm not sure, but I grew up on this island. I'm almost certain that's who that was, you know, so I think that's why she handled things so professionally. Not to say that the cashiers aren't professional, you know, but the way that she handled it very well, the situation. So I went in there and I was just looking for hair gel for my hair. I'm natural, as you guys know. I talked about this in the last video. I was telling you guys the struggle of trying to grow my hair back and the struggle of having like a mixed texture hair, where it's like my hair is coarse, but then at the same time I have different textures in my hair, where some parts of it is kind of curly, and then some parts of it is extremely coarse. And so it's hard to manage, especially when it's at the phase where it's growing back. And so I've had several natural hair journeys throughout the years, y'all, and I'm pretty, at this point, well equipped with dealing with my hair. I know how to take care of it. I know how to deal with it. But being targeted and you know, being tired and being drained and, you know, the different things that happen when you're targeted, sometimes you just don't have the energy to deal with your hair, man. And that's really what it is. Sometimes I just don't feel like dealing with it. Not this stage, at least, where it's growing back, you know, and I have to deal with, like, you know, trying to make it look good and trying to get it to look presentable and trying to comb it and trying to, you know, it's hard because my hair is really freaking thick, y'all. Like, I can't even explain to you how thick my hair is. And that's something that runs in my family. It's very dense. I have dense hair. So, I went looking for gel, basically. There's this gel that my sister and I use that they sell here on island that typically can you know, do good for our hair and good for our edges and stuff. And I noticed recently it wasn't, and when I say recent, like within the last 2 to 3 months, it wasn't doing what it normally does. Like, I just noticed, and both my sister and I noticed this, it wasn't laying our hair down the way that we're used to it doing. And you know how it is. If you're a natural hair girl, you know what I'm talking about. You know the struggle. Different products work for different people. You know, that's the beautiful thing about natural hair. It's like the versatility of it all, and also the diversity, because different people have different textures and different products that work with their hair. And so my sister and I, we have a similar, obviously we're sisters, similar hair texture, similar struggle. We use the same products. You know, what works for me typically works for her. And so I went to the hair store just looking for something that could work for my edges, because I noticed that, like, the products I was using before, I just felt like it wasn't slaying my edges the way that I like it to be. You know, it was laying it down, but not looking the way that I wanted it to look. And I had bought this pomade from the other hair store. There are 2 main hair stores that I like to go to. There are like about 5 down here, but 2 ones that I mainly frequent. And it's that one that I'm documenting now, where the awkward interaction happened that I'm about to talk about. And then another one that I like to go to, where this guy that knows my family works, really nice guy. You know, at his hair store, he gave me a pomade. It's literally the best pomade I have used on my edges, like, I want to say within the last 2 years. It's so good. Like, it's laying my edges really well. right? The only thing I didn't like was that it kind of had a slightly greasiness to it, and it's a pomade, so that's expected. It's similar to like a jam. If you have natural hair, you know what I'm talking about. Or similar to Boost. Boost is something that's like more frequently used in the States, and I noticed they don't really have it down here like that. So it's similar to Boost, which is why I like it, the way it lays my edges, but it's just a tad bit more greasy than the Boost. Like I find the Boost has less oiliness to it. And so I think that's also why the Boost tends to last longer. So the problem I'm having with that product, with the pomade, is it's laying my edges the way that I want it to, but I'm finding with the humidity on Island and the fact that it's slightly greasier than the pomades I usually use, like Boost, I'm finding that it's not lasting as long, the lay down of my edges. So that's the problem I'm having with that. With the gel that my sister and I typically use, it seems as though they're watering down the product now, or something's going on. Maybe they sent out a bad batch, as the hair store person that I'm about to talk about the awkward interaction with mentioned. Something's going on with it where it's not even laying my edges like how it used to. So it's not even laying my edges like how that pomade I was just referencing does. It's not even doing that. Like it'll lay it a little bit, but it's not looking as good as that pomade. However, what it does do, however it does lay my hair, it at least stays. You know, it dries out and it stays and it doesn't wear off. So it's like they're both lacking in a way. Like the pomade, it's laying my edges the way I want it to and it's looking the way I want it to. But then throughout the day, it's starting to, wear off because of the oiliness. The lay is not lasting. With the gel that I used to use, that used to lay my edges the way I wanted it to, it's lasting. However, it is laying my edges, but it's not laying my edges the way that I want it to. But however it does lay it, it's lasting. So it's just like I almost wanted to mix the two products and see if it would work. And I did try that and it didn't work. Like it made a mess, like, and product build up in my hairline. Anyway, I'm not meaning to go on a spiel about hair, y'all. I'm just trying to explain to you what was going on and why I was in the hair store and what created the longer extended interaction with the hair store owner that turned into something that was awkward for me. So anyways, I went in there and I was just asking her if she had the Boost, because my sister had told me that Boost was a very good pomade and it lays down your hair similar to like that one that I was just referencing, but it lasts, and it's not as greasy as your typical pomade. And so I went in there looking for it. She told me that hair store had it and they told me they didn't sell it anymore, basically. I asked the owner if she had it. She said, no, I don't know about that product, but you can ask so-and-so, somebody that was working the floor. And so I asked that person said, oh, we don't have that anymore. So, it seems as though they hadn't had it in a while. And so I remember going back to the counter and asking the hair store owner what would be the best edge product. Sorry that I started to stammer, y'all. I saw the bird fly by and that's why I started stammering. I remember going to the counter and asking her what would be the best edge product that she sold in the store. She told me organic. I'm not meaning to say the name of the product, y'all. I'm sorry. She told me the name of the product, right? And so I said, well, I'm having an issue with that product. I said, that's the product that my sister and I used to use. It's not laying my edges anymore. So she seemed shocked. She was like, what? That's the one, exclaiming basically that it's so good for edges and how it works for her. And so I was telling her it worked for me too. That used to be like my go-to edge layer. My sister and I used to use that on our edges and to hold our hair down. That was our main go-to product. And so I was just explaining to her it wasn't working anymore. So she was very kind, very nice to me. I'm sure she knows who I am. Everybody does. She was just making conversation, being really nice, and professional. And she even went from behind the counter to get the product. And she said, we're going to figure out what's going on, because if they're watering down the product, I need to know so I can let them know not to do that, or, make a report to them about it, because she doesn't want to be selling bad product, and she's been in business for years and I can see why. She was very professional, very kind, and very helpful. But before she even came around the counter, right, to look for the gel that she had recommended to me that I told her wasn't working anymore, I wasn't acting awkward. I hadn't started acting awkward yet. I was acting normal because I felt comfortable. There wasn't too many people in the store. It was evening time. It was like 2 people in the store. So I didn't feel uncomfortable. She's an older lady, looks around my mom's age, maybe a tad bit younger, like around that age range. So I didn't feel uncomfortable at all, and so I'm just talking to her and she's pointing at the gels, where the gels are at. This was before she came from behind the counter. They start to rev up outside. Remember, they're watching everything I'm doing. And they're purposely trying to sensitize me to certain stimuli out of spite and to make me feel uncomfortable. So when they started revving up outside, that was when I started to feel uncomfortable. And even still, I didn't start acting awkward yet. She even came from around the counter, grabbed the gel. She grabbed several of them of that same brand, but several different types of that same brand. And she was opening them near me. She came and stood next to me, and we were both looking at them to see which ones looked thicker, which ones looked like they might be watery. And even while that was happening, I wasn't acting awkward, despite hearing the revving outside. When the awkwardness happened was when she came back around the counter. We decided on the gel that I would go with, right? We found one that looked a little bit thicker that might work for me. She was saying she would definitely look into that, and she thinks it was probably just a bad batch. So she rung me up, just making regular conversation. She saw that I was wearing my workout gear. She was asking me if I work out, if I lift weights. She was talking about how that's good for you and that can make your muscles last longer. I was agreeing with her. Regular conversation, y'all. But when she's handing me the receipt, right? I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt awkward. I could feel them staring at me. They had just been revving by. So I didn't want to look at, it's this weird thing that happens when they do what they do, where you start to feel uncomfortable and like you don't want to look at the person. It's like this weird thing that they're trying to sensitize you to, especially in my case. Again, I told you it's spiteful, vigilante retribution, where they're trying to make me feel uncomfortable towards females. It doesn't even have to be a child. It can be a grown woman, a woman as old as my mother. It could be somebody my age. It doesn't even matter. And none of it matters. It's just as long as it's a female, they're purposely trying to sensitize me. So in that moment, I'm feeling awkward. I already have a problem with eye contact, y'all. I've said this in several videos. As a matter of fact, if you check out let me scroll down. My part 1, the Asperger's/music connection and taking a live Asperger's test, right? You see that video with me in the low crop top. That's an old picture, y'all. That's from my early 20s. That's to tell you I've been working out. You can see how I was looking back then. Like, I have been working out my whole life. Anyway, that's irrelevant. So in that video, you can hear me, and not just that one. I've said it in several videos. Mind you, this video is from 9 months ago. In several videos, I've talked about the fact that I have a struggle with looking people in the eyes. I've had it my whole life. I remember my first boyfriend used to laugh at me about that and try to make me feel comfortable about the fact that I couldn't look him in the eyes. I have had this issue my whole life, and it took years for me to master getting over, and I still haven't gotten over it. I still have the issue, but I learned how to mask. So I learned how to look at people in the eyes and force myself to do it despite feeling weird. Something I used to do was sometimes look at the eyebrow bone to make myself feel comfortable, make you feel like I'm giving you eye contact and I'm not feeling awkward. And just so you know, that's a symptom of Asperger's, feeling socially awkward and not being able to look people in their eyes, right? When they're doing what they're doing, right, and they're creating this PTSD trauma type scenario for me, and they're revving by and staring at me and trying to sensitize me to females because of that false, heinous insinuation that they're purposely doing out of spite, right? Vigilante retribution. It brings back the old me where I couldn't look people in the eyes when I was younger, before I had mastered being able to look people in the eyes. I start to feel so awkward and uncomfortable. I can't even really explain the feeling, right? It's similar to what happened. I talked about that guy. Let me scroll up. I don't recall which video. I think it was, oh boy, that was also spoken about in that video that I deleted. So y'all didn't get to hear that. But when I was talking about what happened at the gym, I also talked about this interaction I had with this guy at the bus stop that drives the bus that I went to school with back in the day. Nothing major, nothing bad. I talked to a lot of the bus drivers. Despite what was happening with the public transportation, majority of those drivers are very kind, and I have some sort of camaraderie ship with them. They're cool, right? And I talk with them sometimes, and they ask me about working out and stuff and what sports I played and blah, 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 So this guy that I went to school with back in the day, I recognized his face. He stopped to talk to me. This was the other day. Sorry to go off on a tangent. I'm just trying to explain to you, it doesn't even have to be a female. It happens with just about anyone, especially now that I'm targeted and I feel awkward. He came up and he was standing in front of me, and he just started to ask me, what sports do I play, and what school I went to, that type of stuff, And so I told him I remember his face. I remember that him and I went to school back in the day, high school. And he was telling me he played basketball too, which I actually do remember, but I don't remember his name. So I was just very brief, short conversation. But because I recognized his face from back in the day, I didn't know his name, thank the Most High, because that would have been awkward too. His name probably would have been popping in my head. Because I remembered his face from back in the day, and I know that everybody knows what's going on with me, even if it's somebody that's being kind, I get awkward and I start to feel basity, especially when it's a face I recognize, because I know they're privy to the situation. So it feels awkward and weird. And so despite me trying to have conversation with him, like I couldn't even help the awkwardness in my eyes. Like I was forcing eye contact with him, like how I've learned how to do throughout the years. But I'm not as good at it anymore with what's happening. It's like I've kind of reverted back to the old me where I wasn't good at giving eye contact when I was younger because of what's happening, but specifically in certain situations where I really feel uncomfortable. Like when I'm talking to somebody that I recognize from the past, or if I'm talking to a woman and they're zooming by outside and trying to sensitize me. So I remember I could feel my awkwardness rubbing off on him. Like you could tell he's like a regular guy, and you could tell that the conversation was making him feel awkward because of how awkward my body language was. I always could tell when I'm making somebody feel awkward with my awkwardness. And so he kind of like abruptly ended the convo, not in a rude way or anything like that, but I could tell that he had felt awkward. And I think he realized that he was making me feel awkward. And so I felt bad about that, and I kind of documented it in a video, the same video I talked about in the last video, the part 1 to this video that I told you guys I ended up deleting. So it's similar to that, what was happening with the hair store lady, except it was more than that because they were outside revving up, right, and making me feel uncomfortable. So I didn't know I was trying to look at her in the eyes. I couldn't even do it good. I was trying to look her in the eyes, and the same thing, like what happened with that guy, the bus driver, I could just feel like even though she was being so nice, I could see that even with her, she was feeling awkward. And she tried to, she'd give me the receipt. I didn't know what to do. First, I was staring at the receipt at her hand because I didn't want to look at her face. I didn't know what to do. With them revving up outside, when they start to do that, I don't know how I'm supposed to look at the person. I start to try to act normal, and I act more weird than anything else. So I was staring at her hand with the receipt, and I said, no, I need to look at her face. She's talking to me. And so she's handing me the thing, and I'm just looking awkward, man. I saw she even got hesitant and awkward for a second, and then she continued being nice, and she played it off. She's a really nice lady. So anyways, that happened. I want to document it and just talk about the PTSD and trauma, man, that happens with what they do, with how they sensitize you and they like literally bully you. It's a bully campaign. They bully you into these awkward reactions, and then for shits and giggles, rev by even more to gaslight you about the reaction. It's horrible. Anyway, so something similar happened yesterday now. Yesterday was Thursday. Something similar happened, but it was more to that situation than them just revving by. So I pierced my septum, y'all. Y'all will see it soon enough. I decided that I want to get my septum pierced again. It's funny because yesterday, how they like to shadow network, and even like when you go in the car, I told you they like to throw subs at me on the radio. I was sitting in the car, as I was going through my day trying to get products and stuff, like I was looking for numbing cream so that I could numb my nose and pierce myself. As I'm going through, driving around Ireland trying to find numbing cream, they put on the radio a song about somebody trying to be everything but themselves. And I know it had to do with the piercing, the septum piercing. And I'm like, you don't know me. It's so irritating when they try to tell you who you are in this program, and they try to like not sensitize you, throw subs at you about you not being yourself. Like for instance, me working out, them trying to make it be like I'm being thirsty, like I'm just doing it for attention when I've done it my whole life. And I've proven it in several videos. I showed you guys videos of me in my early 20s when I was in a tracksuit. I used to work out. I used to jog. The same thing I do now, where I jog in the little short pants that they started teasing me about. I have a video I could throw on right now with me in a short pants in my early 20s jogging. I actually used to wear a sports bra and a short pants and jog in my early 20s. I don't do that anymore. I'm not doing all of that because I'm on camera. Before I left Ireland, before my targeting went viral, I was riding the hills by the old neighborhood that I used to live in, riding through the hills and jogging up in the hills, working out. I've done it my whole life. I played sports in elementary, all through high school. I've done it my whole life. I'm not going to stop doing what I do because I'm being watched and I'm targeted and you're uncomfortable with it. Stop watching. That's how I feel. And now I sound like a pompous bitch, when really no, what I'm saying is correct. Anyway, so that's just, one element of them trying to like push this thing like I'm doing something for attention or I'm doing something that's not me. Now the septum thing. Now what motivated me or inspired me to get the septum piercing again, because I had it in the past, was when my cousin came in town. I saw her own. And although the kind she had isn't necessarily my style, and I'm not knocking it, everybody has their own taste and their own style and their own aesthetic that they're going for, it still made me miss my septum piercing. She has more of like the bigger earring in, and some people like that look. I more so like the smaller earring. What I had back in the day was the small little hoop, right? I almost want to find the picture because of what they did, and I should have found it before I started making this video. There's a picture for my 26th birthday where I was wearing this striped dress and I had the little small hoop in. That's how long ago I had my septum pierced, when I was 26, y'all. I'm 32 now. And I had it before then too. I had the piercing 3 times. I got it done 3 times in the past, way before my targeting. This is my 4th time having the septum piercing, and I did it myself this time. And the only reason I did it again is because I saw my cousin's own and it made me miss my piercing. So I said, man, you know what? I should do that. And I didn't know they had a piercing shop down here, because when I tried to look around, I was only able to find a tattoo shop that said he didn't do it. And then he kind of referenced the piercing shop that I now learned is here on island, but he didn't really give me a number. He said maybe I can find her on Facebook, and I was feeling awkward about it. I'm just thinking I'm targeted anyway. So I was just like, let me see if I could do this thing myself. This is what I came up with that idea in my head. So I looked up online, I found a piercing kit. I ordered it off of Amazon. I started watching videos on how to pierce yourself. I said, I think I can do this. I started to geek myself up and tell myself that I could do this. Y'all, it was not easy. That thing was very hard to do. I've gotten so many piercings in my life. I had my lip pierced. I had my belly button pierced. I had my septum pierced. I had my helix pierced. I've had so many piercings, especially in the past. But letting somebody else do it is so much easier than doing it yourself, because it's like a painful, it's going to be painful. Obviously, it's not going to tickle. It's going to be painful. But if you're somebody that's not really, I wouldn't say I'm not afraid of pain. I hate pain. I don't like pain. But I'm not like super fearful of pain, especially when it comes to piercings. Like I can take it, right? I'm a strong person. I work out. So that's always, you're always feeling pain when you work out. Like the whole theme of working out is pushing through the pain so that you get the gain. So I'm not really somebody that's like, I don't like pain, but I don't have an aversion to it. I can take it. But doing it yourself is harder, because you have to look at yourself sticking the needle through your flesh while you're expecting the pain to come. When a piercer does it, you close your eyes, they know what they're doing. They stick it through real quick pinch, that's it, it's over. When you're doing it, the pain that's coming. You have to open your eyes and watch yourself injure yourself, basically. Like I just can't even explain how hard the shit was. It was so hard, y'all. And it took me 2 days to do it, but I did it. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. So nonetheless, yesterday I was in the car and I was looking for numbing cream. On the radio, they start playing about people just trying to be everything but themselves. I'm like, do you even know me? Because you don't. You really don't. And you're making assumptions, but you talk about me making fake assumptions. I've had my septum pierced several times in the past. And I'm only now doing it again because I saw my cousin's own and I missed mine. So yeah, this is me. Hi. Anyway, so so on this journey looking for numbing cream, y'all, it started early yesterday morning. Remember, at the moment I'm doing security. I work the night shift. So I told you guys I get on at 11 p.m. and I get off at 7 a.m., right? So yesterday, as soon as I got off, I said, you know what? Instead of going to sleep and getting rest and stuff, I'm going to try and get this numbing cream early in the morning and see if I could just get this piercing over with. Because I had already tried the night prior. It didn't take me 2 days. I'm saying stupidness, y'all. It took me like 1 day to do the piercing, because I had tried that night when I actually got the kit. I chickened out, and then all of yesterday I attempted until I finally did it. So it took me about a day to do it, not 2 days. Anyway, so as soon as I got off, I noticed that one of the pharmacies, at least online, said that they open at 8. So I said, you know what, that's just an hour. Let me just go home, let me eat some cereal, and then I'll go out to that pharmacy and I'll get the numbing cream. I'll see if they have it. Went out there, I noticed that they were not opening. Then I saw like a, little white writing on the door that said that, not the door, it was like they had like the slide down. You know that thing that stores sometimes slide down over the door when they're closed, and then they'll slide it up? They had that pulled down, and I noticed that they had in white writing that they open at 9. So I'm assuming they changed the time and they didn't put it online. So I was like, oh boy, okay, well that's just another hour. I can wait. I wait the hour, they open, I go inside, they tell me they just ran out of numbing cream. So they told me try the other pharmacy, or maybe I can try Kmart, right? So I go to the other pharmacy. I see that the other pharmacy is supposed to open at 9, like that pharmacy I just left. I notice they're not opening. I'm noticing a group of people standing outside. So I was like, oh boy, what's going on? Because I know everybody knows what's going on with me. It's like a movie, my life. I'm telling you. Like it's like the island entertainment. I feel like a freak show. I keep saying that. So they're well aware of what's going on with me and the fact that I'm looking for numbing cream. So I'm noticing they're all standing outside. I'm like, okay, what's going on? It's 9 o'clock. Everybody's standing outside in a group outside, and it's not opening. What's happening, right? So I just sat in my car. So let me just wait a few minutes. Maybe they're going to open. One of the people that works in there, one of the I guess pharmacy techs, she walked by my car. She even knocked in the glass and let me know that my back tire needed air, which I was appreciative of, right? She goes, I said, so maybe this is not gang stalking, she's being nice. She told me what's going on with my back tire. Maybe it's just that they're opening late this morning. So I'm just waiting, I'm waiting. I know somebody with a Rev engine pulls up, rum, 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 and pulls up and parks up. So I'm like, oh boy, right? But it could just be because I'm Target, and he saw me park there and decided to, gang stalk or whatever. I don't know. He pulls up, he stands outside with a group of people outside. I'm also seeing an elderly gentleman standing outside with the army fatigue pants on. Remember I told you this sensitized me to plaid and army fatigue. Oh, and also red and white, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm just waiting. I'm like, this is seeming like gang stalking. This is seeming like, that thing that they do where they mob. It's called mobbing. Like when you're going to a store and they know where you're going. And so they all mob up inside and you have to wait in super long lines just to get like one product. Or they'll close a place that's supposed to be open. And you have to wait extra long for it to open. I don't deal with that too much down here, but it does happen from time to time, I suspect. I can't concretely prove. You know how it is. But I suspect it happens from time to time. So I'm like, what is this? I'm like, why is this happening? I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything offensive. I just want to pierce my nose. It's not that big of a deal. So I'm waiting. I'm like, let me pull up and ask a question. So I pulled up and I asked the same lady that told me my tire needed air. I asked her, what time do you guys open? Don't you guys open at 9? And she said, yeah, but sometimes we open at 9:30. So I said, okay, no problem. I said, let me just pull up and wait. I said, I guess it's just one of these mornings where, it seems like, and I even thought that in my head, I didn't accuse. I suspect this is gang stalking activity where they're just making me have to wait extra long. But hopefully that means they have the cream that I'm looking for. So I pull up and park up. And I tried to pull up a little bit further than the crowd because obviously it felt awkward and I know they can all see me. Somehow, however they do it, if they're seeing me in their head, brain-to-brain computer interface, if on the cameras, the live feed that seems to be happening from these insect drones, if they're looking at me on their phone, I don't know. I'm not on that end. They're the gang stalkers. I'm the target. I don't know how it works completely. I just know from the research I've done. So I'm sitting there, feeling awkward, obviously, knowing I'm being stared at. But I'm just like, okay, let me just, put my head down. I kind of put my head down. I was tired too. And I was just waiting for them to open. So as I'm waiting, I just hear somebody going, rum, rum. I hear a bunch of revving up. So I look up. And as I look up, I see a mother and her look like a teenager, maybe like a preteen. Not a teenager, more like a preteen. Her preteen daughter walking into what looked like the doctor's office. Because this is a plaza, mind you, y'all. So on one end is the pharmacy. And then on one end you have doctors' offices. So I noticed that they were going in the door and they purposely revved up so that I would lift my head up and see them walking by. So I thought in my head, you see how they sensitize me? I know they're listening to my thoughts, right? So this is why I thought that. I said, you see what they do? I said, they purposely rev so that I would look up and see this lady walking by with her daughter. And then they would gaslight me about acting awkward whenever I see children or women in general at this point, when this is something they've sensitized me to and it's PTSD and trauma. But they know what they're doing. It's spiteful. It's, again, hello, fake assumption. The page that added me on Facebook, they're doing it on purpose. Look, they're revving by now that I'm saying that. So anyways, I thought that thought in my head. So now I'm already sensitized. I'm tired too. Remember, I hadn't rested. Finally, the pharmacy didn't open yet. I said, you know what? Since y'all are active and up right now, listen to my story. Remember I told you I just keep constantly playing my story purposefully to knock down the false narrative, even though I know I don't need to. They know it's false. They're doing it on purpose. I still purposely, whenever they do what they do, play my story. I know they know my story. They've probably heard it 1,000 times now. But I know they don't stop looking. They don't stop staring at me. So I'm like, okay, well, let me use that to my advantage. Listen to my story. You're going to listen to it however many times I choose to play it. So I played the story. I start playing it. As soon as I start playing it, I noticed the pharmacy opened. I was like, okay, well, the pharmacy's open, right? So I turn off the camera. I go inside to the pharmacy. I ask them if they have the numbing cream. They tell me no. So I'm like, damn, all of that. And then they don't even have the cream. Like, they could have just opened on time and told me no then. So that was upsetting. But again, I can't prove that it was gang stalking. So I didn't really make a big fuss about it, because the whole theme of my targeting is bearing false witness. So I didn't really make no big fuss about it. But before I left, the same lady that was telling me about my tire started telling me that there's a piercing shop down here. And she was telling me the name of the shop. And so as she's telling me, a younger woman comes from behind the counter, looked a little bit younger than her, looked more so like somebody in her early 20s, comes from around the counter and starts interjecting into the conversation about this piercing shop. Instantly, I got awkward. Now, not only because she looked younger, because really females in general make me feel awkward and sensitized, but I want you to understand there were several factors that made me get awkward when she stepped forward. First of all, understand that they had just revved by when a mother and her preteen child walked by while I was outside. So I'm already feeling that PTSD tense trauma type response feeling, right? Also, I recognized her face. Remember I told you guys I'm like an elephant and my memory's really good? They created an ad with that girl here on Island, an ad with her in a plaid shirt, right? And they're having some conversation that had sensitization and stimuli in it. But the point is she was wearing a plaid shirt, right? I remember even looking at it and saying, are you kidding me? Because they kept throwing the ad on me, throwing the ad at me on YouTube. I'm like, since when are they throwing Virgin Island ads? Remember, I'm in the Virgin Islands, y'all, to me on YouTube. I'm like, really? And it's the same ad with this girl in the plaid shirt. I had to block the ad after a while. It was to the point where I literally had to say, you know how you can click the little three dots in the top upper right hand corner? You can ask them to not send it to you. You can say not interested, whatever. I literally had to do that to get them to stop sending the ad to me. So I recognized her face from the ad. She looked younger, right? All of this added to my awkwardness. And then they had just revved by and purposely tried to sensitize me to a mother and her preteen daughter walking by when I was outside the pharmacy. So I got so basity, and remember I explained to y'all what basity means. That just means flustered, right? It means like you get flustered or anxious. I got so basity, I tried to listen to what she was saying, but I almost ran out the store. Like I got so basity and I realized my response was stupid and I have to stop letting them cow me. And again, guys, I using slang, cow just means make me feel anxious or nervous or have this stupid response to the trolling. I have to stop letting that get to me and letting myself have these responses. But I kind of had like a fumble there, right? I acted basity, stammery, and then I tried to leave the store and I heard snickering as I was leaving. And I'm like, if you only understand, I recognize your face from the video, from the ad that was created with the plaid shirt. And they were just revving outside with the other situation, with the girl and her, the mother and her preteen daughter walking by. So all of that happens, y'all. And it creates these awkward, tense reactions. And then they would gaslight me about my reaction to PTSD and trauma from them sensitizing and bullying and harassing me. You understand the nonsense? So I was like, let me document this because that's how I knock down the tactics. Like I keep explaining to y'all, the best countermeasure against the tactics used is documentation and articulation. That's why I keep making the videos. They keep gaslighting me about making videos. I would stop. They would never hear a video from me again if they would leave me alone. Turn the cameras off, leave me alone. The only videos I would create, I don't even think I would be creating videos anymore. I would probably delete every social media app that I have and go incognito. That's how bad I don't ever want to be in the spotlight or around people in my privacy again. That's how traumatized I am. I would probably delete every social media I have. I have hundreds of likes on Facebook. I would delete that shit in a heartbeat. If they would stop what they're doing, I would go off the map. I'm telling you. Right now, it's to the point where I'm being forced to be on camera, so I'm going to keep my YouTube up and I'm going to keep making videos and keep knocking down the tactics that they're trying to use on me. But that's just another example of what causes these awkward reactions and then how they would gaslight you to these awkward reactions. Gaslight you, excuse me, I heard the stupid revving. Gaslight you about your awkward reaction to PTSD and trauma from you being sensitized, harassed, and bullied. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to, is it? No, I feel like there was more. There was definitely more, and I'm trying to remember what else there was that I wanted to talk about. Oh my God, what else happened oh my God, yes. Whoa. So I was calling around Island looking for this numbing cream, y'all. And I started to just, when I found out, when they told me, in that pharmacy after the awkward reaction that I could find the piercing shop online, it told me that there was actually a piercing shop down here. I said, let me look her up and see if she can do the piercing for me because I was having a hard time doing it, y'all. I really was. And that's why I was looking for the numbing cream because typically I get piercings. I've gotten some very painful piercings, y'all, and I didn't need numbing cream. But because I'm piercing myself, I'm trying to feel around with the needle before I just stick it through. And so the sharp edge of the needle scraping my skin was causing me to feel anxious about pushing it through. And so that's what was causing the hesitation and what took me so long to do the piercing. And one of the girls I looked up online said that was what was causing the issue for her too. So it's really hard, y'all. So instead of finding numbing cream, I was like, well, let me see if I could really just go to this piercing shop that they recommended. So I remembered calling, the girl, looking her up on Facebook and finding her and asking her what I first did was try to see if she sold numbing cream. So I asked her if she sold it. She told me she used to, that she stopped doing it because the one she sold was super strong and she didn't want the liability of selling it to people. So I said, well, I started asking her about her rates and stuff. She starts telling me that she charges $80 for the septum piercing. And the reason being is because of the type of jewelry they use. They're using gold-plated jewelry. So I'm like, so if I bring my jewelry to you, because remember I told you I just ordered a whole piercing kit. If I bring my jewelry to you and the materials, would you pierce it with my stuff and I pay you just for doing the piercing? She said no, because she doesn't want the liability, which I understand. I wouldn't argue with that. That's your business. And also, too, you have to look at it as the fact that this is a business for her. So if she were to use my product, then she can't really charge and really make good money off of that. You're not going to charge someone that much just to bore a hole in them. So if I'm bringing you my product and you're not using your product and all you're doing is boring the hole, there's but so much you can charge. So you're not really making much of a profit. So I could see why that wouldn't be something that would be worthwhile for you. So I understood that and I wasn't upset. I was just like, damn, So I'm like, I got to do this myself then. So I started calling around trying to figure out how I can find this numbing cream. I'm like, somewhere on island has to have numbing cream. And I'm like, damn, they probably gonna just make it so I can't get the numbing cream. This is from the time I saw kind of what happened with that second pharmacy. I was like, I'm probably not gonna be able to find it here on island, even if they do have it. So before I started calling the other pharmacies on island, I called a tattoo shop. After I spoke with that girl and she told me she didn't sell the numbing cream anymore, I called 2 tattoo shops. The first one didn't answer. And the second one, it seems like he's opening a shop from what he told me when I actually went to meet up with him in person. This is the interaction I'm about to document. He told me he's opening a shop next weekend, right? So he doesn't have the shop open yet, but his info is still on Google. So he was very nice, right? Off rip, he told me, hey, how you doing? He told me, I said, hey, do you sell numbing cream? He said, yeah. He didn't even sound like he had an attitude. I'm sure he probably was privy to the fact that I was the target, because it seems like everyone's watching, like my day-to-day, every move I'm making. So it almost feels like he probably knew that it was me on the phone. I don't really know, though. Either way, he just seemed very friendly and open and no attitude at all. Now, I could tell, so I just want you to understand that this isn't a race thing, because they love to run and try and create that. You know how they do, because of the stuff I shared in my car in Florida. And that's a major part of my targeting and what they like to sensitize me to. I knew before going to meet him that he was white. You can tell the race of a person, typically, not always. Sometimes people can speak a certain way and you meet with them and it's not what you expect. But typically, you can tell the race of a person when you're talking to them. Typically. I'm good with that. I can. I don't know about you, but I can. I knew I was going to meet with a white man. Like, I could tell from the way that he spoke, and I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. I just want you to understand that my reaction or lack of trust, because they threw something on the radio to sensitize me to not trusting the numbing cream, and I'm going to explain to you why I didn't trust it. It had nothing to do with him being white, or else I wouldn't have shown up in the first place. I knew he was white from the conversation we had. I knew I was going to pick the numbing cream up from somebody white. So anyways, the conversation was nice and friendly, very brief. He explained to me where he lived. He told me he had a few more left. He had to order more. And he told me how much it cost and told me to come pick it up. So I went and I took the money out of my ATM. I ran to the gas station just to get change, and then I ran to meet up with him. As I pull up, I call him. He comes out, same friendly demeanor. He comes out in a red shirt. So I already knew that there was some sort of or element of gang-stalking to the interaction. Remember, they sensitized me to red and white, or just straight up red. Like, a lot of them just wear red shirts to sensitize me. They're doing it on purpose. It's about what happened last year, what I said last year, when I started doing research about the program. So the more research I did and the more I started talking about certain things, the more they started sensitizing me to the things I talked about out of spite. That's how the plaid came into play. It was because I saw it in another target's page, and I made one video about it. And I said, that hasn't happened in my targeting. I said, I haven't noticed plaid shirts, but this person said whatever. Oh my God, they made plaid shirts the main symbol, the main emblem of my targeting. Like, it's the main thing that they use more than anything else is the plaid shirt. I told you they even painted it on one of the popular murals here on island, on the side of one of the grocery stores that's been down here for decades. Like, this is going to go down in history. The plaid shirt that was used to target the one girl that was ever targeted on island. Like, you don't even understand. It's a style down here now. It started a whole new wave down here. Everybody's wearing plaid. Anyway, so he came out in red though. He didn't come out in plaid. He came out in the red shirt, but it's just equivalent to him coming out in plaid. It's the sensitization, right? So already I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's just doing that because obviously, hello, I did say a lot of offensive things. I keep saying out of anybody that's targeting me, I more than anyone else can understand white people doing it because of what I said in my car in Florida. Again, it was out of anger. I'm not going into it again. I'm not doing it. I'm not going into the explanation again. It is what it is. I said what I said, right? Not saying that I stand by it, but I'm just saying it already happened. I'm not going to keep explaining myself. But I understand that, right? So I understood him coming out in the red. But my thing is, he seemed friendly and open on the phone. But then he comes out in the red. So I'm like, can I trust the product? That was how I thought immediately, right? Instantly when I saw the red, my heart dropped. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can trust. Automatically, as a target, you have to second guess everything already as it is. But if you have somebody that you're meeting up with, I don't care if he was blue, white, purple, black, I don't care what his race was, coming out in a red shirt to sensitize me, I'm now going to start to question the product you're selling me, obviously. But he was very nice to me, despite the red shirt, very kind. I didn't expect this to happen. He came right in my face. Now, mind you, I was prepared for the interaction. I just had brushed my teeth right before I left the house, brushed my teeth, I used mouthwash, and I popped 2 pieces of gum in my mouth. I sprayed on perfume because I know what they do, how they like to try and pretend like I stink, right? I told you again, this is another one of those things they're doing out of spite because of what I said in my full story about my roommate. It's just like a lot of things that I said in my full story that they're purposely now, it's just this thing they're doing. They're throwing a lot of lies and false accusations at me and pretending certain things to malign me. It's out of spite because they say I bear false witness and also they think I'm a bully. So anyways, I just always make sure I'm smelling good. I make sure my clothes is freshly washed. I make sure I'm wearing deodorant. I make sure my teeth is freshly brushed. I make sure I have gum in my mouth. And actually, I feel bad anytime that there's a moment where I get caught slipping. And when I say caught slipping, where I'm not smelling like absolutely good. Like if I'm just smelling regular, I feel like I get caught slipping. I have to make sure I'm smelling good, right? Which was part of the reason why I was having an issue with... Anyway, I'm not even going to go into that right now. I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, so... Oh, my head is hurting me, y'all. So let me finish. I think my relief is here. Yeah, I didn't even put the key in there. Give me a minute, y'all. You know, I told you guys I can't pause these videos, unfortunately. Give me a minute, y'all. So I'm going to go run in and put the key on the desk really quick. That's how into this video I was, y'all. It's the point where my shift is over now. And I didn't put the key on the desk. I can't pause it, though, y'all. This app doesn't allow that. So I'm going to run and put the key on the desk real quick. Yeah, guys, let me hurry up and end this video. I have to start driving now, y'all. Actually, it's not like a rush. My mom is off island, and typically in the mornings I have to rush and get her car back to her because she teaches. But she's off island now, so it's not like I have to rush and leave. Let me just hurry up and finish telling you guys what happened, though. I really wanted to document this because they started gaslighting me about not trusting the numbing cream. So anyways, I made sure that my mouth was smelling fresh and that I was smelling fresh, right? I still didn't expect like an extended interaction. I kind of envisioned it, him saying, like maybe a greeting, him handing me the numbing cream, me giving him the money, and then that's it, the interaction being over. I didn't imagine him leaning kind of into the window and having conversation in my face, because that leaves room for you to pretend like my breath stinks. And so this is why I purposely, because I know they do that, like you don't understand how often that has happened to me. So I purposely, in interactions where I feel like somebody's going to be in my face and I'm not really sure of their motive or how they feel towards me. Remember, I told you not everyone is against me, although a lot of people are. Am I targeting? I don't know who's who, right? And when it comes to people that I know I've said offensive stuff about, I'm really wary. I can understand why you would be feeling some sort of aversion towards me. So had I known he was going to lean in the window and be talking in my face, I would have definitely worn my mask. But I didn't think all of that was going to happen. I really thought that he was just going to hand me the cream. I was going to hand him the $25, say a few words, and I go about my business. He leans in the window, right? And I know this is normal interaction if it were a normal situation, but it's anything but normal. My situation isn't normal, and he was wearing the red to sensitize me. He leans in the window and starts talking to me, right? Start asking me, what am I piercing? What do I need the numbing cream for? First, he asked me if I was getting a tattoo. And I explained to him, no, I'm getting a piercing. Then he asked me what I'm piercing, just starts asking me questions. And I didn't want to say, hey, you're wearing the red shirt and I don't want to talk in your face because you might pretend like my breast stinks. My mind automatically knew that that's what was going to happen. I just know. I've dealt with it so much, y'all. I just knew what was going to happen. And before he even came out, one of the houses to the left of me started playing a generic bird chirping sound out of the window. So I was already like, well, I know they know who I am. So it's literally just probably because I'm Target and I'm parked up here. But then he came out in the red shirt and I was like, God damn. And then when he came out too, they start to rev up. I guess they saw he was wearing the red shirt. I heard somebody rev in the road. So I'm like, damn. I'm like, man, I should have just tried to do this thing without the numbing cream. So anyways, he already came out. I'm not going to make him come out and not give him the money despite now my apprehension. So I was still planning to give him the 25 regardless. And I was going to just test out the tube, see if it was sealed good. And I was still going to use it despite him wearing the red shirt, because this was kind of impromptu. Me deciding to get the numbing cream. It's not like in a week in advance they saw me planning to get numbing cream and they saw me planning to do the piercing, but they didn't know I was going to get numbing cream. I didn't even know. Like literally the night before when I realized how difficult it was to pierce myself, I came up with this impromptu idea that I would get numbing cream in the morning. So I'm like, realistically, he didn't really have much time if he were going to do anything. And I don't think, I don't swear for people. I've already seen a lot of crazy stuff when it comes to targeting. Here on Island in particular, I don't think the people are that malicious that they're going to do stuff like put stuff in my stuff, but I don't ever know. And I've heard so many horror stories. I'm paranoid. So in my head, I'm just like, red shirt, I might still wear it. I might still use it, right? This was my thinking process. I just give him the money, leave. He's leaning in the window and he's conversing with me. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have to talk in his face. I'm like, he's definitely, I just know it. It's like, I'm telling you, I just know ahead of time what's going to happen. I'm like, this man is going to pretend like my bread stinks. I just knew it. I knew it. And he did. Literally, like he started to do this thing where, like when you're talking to somebody and their mouth is kicking. And so you're like acting like you're it's this kind of way where you're talking, but you're holding your breath and you're talking to them. Kind of way. I don't know if you have ever, I'm sure everyone has experienced this because there are a lot of people that have halitosis. I've talked to many. This is why I keep telling you, I don't even know why I'm so sensitive about what's happening with me with the way I brush my mouth, because I've smelled some people's mouths and they're talking into everybody's face and everybody's acting like they're not smelling what they're smelling, because typically people aren't rude like that. If it's somebody that they don't have a problem with and the person's mouth smells like shit, they're not going to act like it stinks. They might, when they go in their car, be like, damn, that person's mouth stunk. But they're not going to, and you're more so like hold your breath and try to be nice and polite, right? So he's talking to me and he starts doing this thing where like he's talking, but I can tell he's like doing this whole, it's obvious how he's doing it too. Like he's like moving back and he's like acting like he's holding his breath while he's talking to me. Like my breath is so bad. I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, what the fuck did I set myself up for? Why didn't I do this, man? I'm like, what the fuck, right? So anyways, excuse my language, y'all. So anyway, after we converse for a little bit, he tells me that he's opening a tattoo shop next week. He gives me the numbing cream and I give him the money and I leave. So as I'm leaving now, this man, and this is not, again, a race thing, it was a black man, drives by in an SUV and he looks at me and he gives me this maniacal smirk. It looked creepy. It's like reminiscent of the Joker, like the way he smirked at me. I was like, whoa, shit was creepy as hell. I was like, I don't know that I'm going to use this cream, right? So I get to the house and I'm like, let me just squeeze it and see if stuff is coming out. I'm squeezing the thing, right? Nothing is coming out of the top and it seems really sealed at the top. But I noticed the bottom and it's kind of like folded up in this kind of way. I'm like, wait a minute, this looks kind of suspicious. So I unfold it and I squeeze it and it's not sealed. The cream is squeezing right out. Now it looked like it came from a mom and pop company, right? So it could be that that's just how their packaging is, where it's not sealed the way that it needs to be. Sometimes like these mom and pop companies that just kind of start making money and so they're able to kind of expand and send stuff out. It's that kind of way where the tubing might not be the best because it's not like an actual company. It's a company, but it's more like a mom and pop type thing. It could be that. It could be just that it was like poor sealing because of the company it came from, or it's like a smaller company, maybe out of somebody's house or something. It could have been that. But I can't take that risk. With you having the red shirt on, you're acting like my breath stinks. You know what? We have people revving by in the road. I'm leaving somebody that looks like the Joker incarnate is driving by. Like I can't take these kind of risks, man. It's just like I couldn't take the risk, man. And the thing ain't sealed. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna use this. But I still gave him free promo. He said he was opening next weekend. And so in my head, I purposely thought the name of his company, and I looked it online, and I said, if anybody's looking for a tattoo shop, this is the shop to, check him out. I gave the man free promo, right? Just because I know I have said offensive stuff about whatever. So anyways, that was it. I didn't say anything nasty about him. I just wasn't intending to use the cream. I just didn't feel like I could trust it. So anyways, I go looking around now for more cream. I find a pharmacy that sells it near my neighborhood. So I head to her and I buy it. Her thing is sealed up. So I'm like, okay, I can use this. I'm like, thank goodness. She wasn't wearing any weird patterns. She was being very nice. He was being nice too, by the way. But she wasn't wearing any patterns. She wasn't acting like my breath stunk. It was in an actual store. And the thing, most importantly, was sealed. So I was like, I can use this, right? Unfortunately, it didn't numb me the way that I hoped it would, but it did numb. It did do something. It definitely did help. Like the surface of my skin, it numbed it a little bit. It wasn't as numb as I would have hoped. And that's because I don't think that's what that cream was intended for. I think the cream that guy gave me was actually more so the piercing tattoo type of numbing cream. And the cream that she gave me, I don't believe it was that. This man is staring at me dead in my face. Okay, anyways, let me continue. The cream that she gave me, I don't believe it was that type of cream, right? She gave me what she had. She had lidocaine, which is used for numbing the skin, and then she had that, which was also an anesthetic. So it is meant for that, but more so for things like, sorry for the TMI, like hemorrhoids. Like if you're having irritation in that area, it can help out with that, soothing, rather than numbing for a piercing. It didn't seem like she had that, right? So she tried to give me the best thing that she had. And so I'm grateful for that. She was kind to me, everything. I still have the cream there. I'm going to use it. I'm sure there's something I could find to use it for in the future. But nonetheless, that's what I ended up going with. And so as I'm driving home with that, I noticed on the radio, they start putting stuff on about trust and trusting people, like trying to come for me about not trusting that initial numbing cream that I got. When they clearly saw the interaction, they're staring at me like it's a movie. They saw what happened. They know why I didn't trust it. They're still gaslighting me about not trusting it. So I was like, I wanted to document that too. I had to document that. Anyways, I'm heading home. This is a very long video. I just wanted to document all of that, man. So so much stuff happens to me on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure if you're targeted. The same stuff probably, or whatever version of hell targeting you're dealing with is happening to you. But I had to document, just talk about that, man, y'all. So this is part 2 to my gang stalking activity documentation. I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out.